Hey guys, today's episode of Getting Skies podcast is brought to you by Shumba Money. Shumba Money provides safe, fast, and easy money transfers from the UK, Australia, Canada, and Botswana to Zimbabwe. What makes Shumba Money different is that they will not charge you any transaction fees if you're sending any amount less than $200. Yes, you heard that right. Zero transaction fees when you send up to $200. Your recipient can collect the money from their Newlands branch in Harare or any National Building Society branch all over Zimbabwe. So you can sign up to shumbamoney.com today and start sending money. How many liters of water do you drink a day?
Not enough liters.
Really?
Yeah. I don't drink. I need to force myself, which is why I've started sitting at my desk with a bottle. Mark. So this is my second bottle. So that's 1.2.
Okay, that's good.
How about you?
Oh, I've been bad. Like when I used to be in the office, I used to have this bottle, which was, I don't know what is a gallon?
I don't know. I can check. But that's a big bottle, though, isn't it?
No, so I don't think it was a gallon. I think it was definitely like 2 liters or 2.5 liters. So I used to like fill it up in the morning, and then like as the day goes by, and it would have like those messages of keep going, but the thing about it is just like the comfort breaks you'd have to take. Oh my god.
Guys, that's one of those toilets.
Yeah.
To lay infection.
But the thing is, it's like I now used to like try and be like, okay, by 4 p.m. or something, I'm cutting off, because then, at night.
A gallon is 5 liters.
Oh, that's a lot.
Yeah, that's good. But I know some people who drink that like in a day. But it's also like, I certainly couldn't go up to that level because I'm the same. I'm like literally, my bladder will just keep me up the whole night. I may as well just move into the bathroom and just sleep there. But I try, and it helps when it's like a little bit hotter because it encourages you to drink a bit more. But I'm not the person who I like juice and stuff like that. All the stuff that's not good for my teeth.
Yeah. Talking of teeth, I still need to whiten my teeth. I need to fix my teeth. I've got a gap.
Why do you want to fix everything? Perfection.
No, I don't want to fix everything. Like my gap wasn't there before. Like I don't know what it called.
Is it a chip?
Yeah. So it was.
It's not who you are. I'd find it very strange if I was to see you and you didn't have that gap.
Yeah, but I don't think when you met me it was like that. It's kept chipping further away.
Oh really?
Yeah. Huh?
Yes, I don't know.
Yeah, so I'm kind of like, and I want to whiten that's the only thing I've always been like, I want to either whiten my teeth, or I don't know what it is that these celebrities do. I want to have like teeth like Americans.
Oh really?
Americans have got good teeth.
But their teeth are too white still.
Yeah, but compared to Europeans.
It looks weird because some people like when they smile, it's just like it's like cheek advert for cheek.
Yeah, but I, like Europeans have a bad rap for having bad teeth.
Yeah.
And I actually notice it sometimes. I'm like, oh, I'm now turning into the stereotypical European, even though I'm not European.
Jesus,
no, because like Americans are so particular about teeth, and maybe because when they've got dental and we don't, like, under the National Health Service, dental is not covered.
It's such an annoyance. It really is. But also, have you seen, like, speaking of cosmetics, like the rise of BBL, of people doing BBLs and stuff like that? and for those who don't know, it's a Brazilian butt lift. So I actually know somebody who went and had this done. She went to Turkey. Is it Turkey? Is that one place for having it done? Yeah, she did, and honestly, like her body is like, I mean, it worked for her. Do you know what I mean? And she fortunately didn't have any complications. But it just seems to be like that is the stat, and she's a lot younger. She's in her 20s. It just seems to be like that is a rising standard for the millennials, which if you're not perfect, then you fix it. You fix it via, however, for cosmetic surgery. And I'm just like, where do we draw the line? Like, what's going to happen when our kids have kids? What will the standard be then? I'm so lucky with Tina and Sati Sukula. We didn't have like these standards, which I feel have just magnified like over the years with the influence of social media. But Tina Sati Sukula, we didn't have phones. Well, I didn't have a phone. I didn't have a phone until I was like in my late teens. And even then it was very restricted about what you could just make calls, play that snake game. Remember the snake game? And read messages. So you weren't really exposed to much. But now it just seems like, gosh, everything is just striving to be perfect,
Then do you know what? It's because we hadn't even planned on talking about this. Today, literally, I've been listening to the Receipts podcast, one of my favorite podcasts. And one of the episodes that they were talking about this. So this is an old episode when Love Island was still on. And they were talking about sort of Love Island, and then they started talking about BBLs and all the stuff. And actually, what you say is just so on point, because I think Audrey is like kind of like our age. I mean, they all kind of are. And they were talking about the fact that,
Sorry, can we just pause just 1 minute? Thank you. You can continue.
Pause for what?
That you are acknowledged that we are the same age, but anyway, continue.
Golly, you're 3 years older than me.
Whatever. Carry on the conversation. So you're saying?
Just anyway. Listen, I'm old. I can't hide it anymore. Like, I'm tired of fighting it.
Listen, let's talk about AIDS another day.
I'm tired of fighting it. It's fine. No, so they were talking about how, now there's all this pressure, and there's people that are doing stuff, right? Because I think at the end of the day, it's just about the relationship with you and how healthy you are. Like, I've got friends. Funnily enough, I was talking to one of my friends. I was about to say his name, but we're talking about meeting up, and then he was like, "No, I can't do Friday because I'm getting my fillers done." And whatever, and I'm just, but he talks about it like he does,
What was that?
He was saying he's doing Botox and fillers.
Can I ask what ethnicity?
Oh, he's English, white.
Okay, yeah.
And it's, he's been doing it since I remember, because we used to work together, and I remember when he started, but it was just like, okay, just casual. And then like we'll talk about Love Island, because I was listening to an old The Receipts podcast episode when Love Island was still on earlier this year, and just talking about how the girls, there was an episode on Love Island where one of the guys was like, oh, his preference is he wants natural looking girls, he doesn't want fake girls, right?
What does natural look like?
The way I took it when I was watching Love Island was more like someone who doesn't look like they've had work done. Like you can tell. Like you can tell when you look at people, you can tell like, okay, they've got the fish lips. Like you can tell like, hey, you got your lips puffed.
Okay, you know what? This is actually, I think we should talk about this more. Like what we had originally planned to talk about. Let's bookmark and come back to it. let's introduce ourselves, because I'm sure there's one new face time. It's secure. It's what time is it? Data bundles are depleting as we speak. It's first time listeners. So let's introduce ourselves, and then we can, because there's a few things I want to kind of that are coming to mind. I'm like, okay, let's explore this.
Good. Welcome to Girl in Skies podcast with me, Natasha.
And Oli,
I sometimes go by Nat.
and I sometimes go by Michelle.
Yeah,
Right.
yes.
Okay. So now that that's out of the way, so you know, like the perception of natural, because Katesi, people are going for these surgeries that quote unquote make you look natural, I would argue, because you know there's certain body types that are, you know, like quote unquote figure eight, so to speak. If you look at especially like Southern African region, the way women are built, you know, and some women don't necessarily need to go to the gym to achieve that. They're just in jail, you know. So you find then like people now are going for this Brazilian butt lift because it adds more to your bum, it shapes your bum, it tucks in your waist. And if you look at the South Africans, like, do you think South Africans go natural BBL? You know, they've always got the slim waist, the tiny waist, and they've got um, big asses,
Mm.
basically. So I was interested to when you said that guy said he wants somebody who has a natural look, because I wonder if the term natural look, you know, that has that changed. Like, what is natural now and what isn't? And yes, there's some people who you can tell Konokuti, the lips look a lot thicker. I don't know why people would go and have thick lips. But anyway, they look like they've got fish lips. But when it comes to your body, I think it's definitely it's different.
But I mean, that's a tough question, Uti. Like, what is fake? What's natural? I think it's up to that person. I just think with that particular example, it's just more like someone who doesn't look like they've had work done. But it's just like, you know, when guys say, I want a natural looking woman with not much makeup, and you're like, nah.
It tires me so much. Like, if I'm being honest, it tires me so much listening to men's wants. Like, when do you ever hear a woman saying, oh, you know, I want a guy who doesn't have a receding hairline? Or do you know what I mean? I want a guy with nice looking hands. No? There's some guys out there with short, stubby fingers. But here we are, we don't discriminate. We are after the heart. But why? Do you know, it's just exhausting. It
It
just
is.
is exhausting. And I feel like that's the pressure that we then have as women to adhere to these standards of quote unquote beauty.
Mm.
And it's interesting, like, do you feel under pressure?
No, you know, and that's why, like, I was referencing what I was listening to earlier with the Receipts
Mm,
podcast, because a lot of what they said resonated, which was,
mm,
you know, when we were growing up, maybe it's a bit different because we grew up in Zim, but
mm,
it's never, I mean, in terms of beauty standards, right? In terms of
mm,
magazines, it
mm,
always felt unattainable. It was always like,
mm,
um, you know, Amakiwa, like white people. I'm trying to think, maybe like Drum Magazine, trying to think of like the features. Obviously, we know, like, you know, the light skin and stuff
mm,
like that. So, but I think when you grow up and you kind of feel like nothing ever represents, it's so that beauty standard, so it feels so out of reach,
mm,
that you almost just have to internally just toughen up and be like,
mm,
oh, I'm who I am, and be content. And so it's nothing I've never ever even thought about.
mm,
But I will say that I'm trying to think, maybe as I've gotten older, maybe I am a little bit, I don't know what the right word is, but kind of mindful of, I want to be young looking, right?
okay.
So but for me, that hasn't gone to the extent of work done, right?
Mm.
It's more like, okay, I want to drink my water. Okay, what are the, and actually maybe even that in itself is not healthy, because there's this obsession of looking young, and we're actually, we should age gracefully. Like, everyone wants to be like, oh, how, if someone says, oh, you look like you're in your 20s, you're like, oh my god. But actually, it's fine. You look like you're in the 30s. That's absolutely fine. you know um so but then I don't know, I live in this world, I consume all of this. Like I'm saying, I've got friends who are doing Botox here and there. I don't
Mm.
know how I'll feel if ever, like, I see my forehead and I see a crease, like, for the first time. Which is why, like I'm saying, like, I've been looking. I think, was it you I was telling about this autophagy, like when you do fasting, and
Mm.
anyway, it's this whole thing, like, you fast, and as part of fasting, when you enter into ketosis, blah blah blah, like autophagy, whatever, like, you're eating, it's like all your cells are kind of going, and it kind of helps with looking young. And I notice, like, when I fast and I do stuff like that, I
Mhm.
visibly can see that, like, it makes a difference on my face. Like, but when I'm not watching what I'm eating and everything, like, I can see it on my face. So that's the extent to which I've kind of been. But then, um on the sort of like body types and everything, right?
Mhm.
The thing is, okay, if you think, even from the time Tina we have been young,
Mm.
right? um Global sort of standards, right? You think of Kate Moss,
Mm.
um Naomi Campbell, that crop of that body type, that slim, that was kind of always the standard.
Mm.
Obviously, in Southern Africa, I think it was a bit different, like, in the sense that it was kind of like, you know um being kind of curvy, bigger, was like a, I don't know if it's fair to say a beauty standard. I don't know, but it was like, I think it was kind of embraced,
Mhm.
in a way.
Yeah, so interesting. Like, you brought up a few things that I want us to maybe talk a little bit more about. And whilst you were speaking, I remembered this. I think I've read this before about in our one of our earlier episodes, we nurture strength of spirit, with the desiderata, where they say, where he says, Max says, or take kindly the counsel of years, gracefully surrendering the things of youth. I need to learn that one a little bit more. I just like that. There's a time, and like that. There's a time for everything, like growing old and grow old gracefully and stuff like that. But yeah, so that kind of came to my mind. I wanted to share that. So you mentioned the whole thing about skin. If on social media, I think there is like a huge emphasis on, the glow and the natural glow and all these other things. Like, you see it increasing, and even amongst guys, like, guys are like, oh, my skin's popping. So, and I feel like there's a lot more now. There's a whole lot more acceptance as well of, not necessarily putting on makeup. So there's more of that natural look makeup as well. And again, that is something that I feel is, I even noticed with my Udu Tamaroti, she's very obsessed about the way that her skin is. So it's like that. We never had that growing up. It was just, you washed your face with palm olive, gobi ikamfa, and off you went. But now there's like, the skin regimes, and being open-minded to like different regimes as well. Like, do you or don't you? I notice as well, like, I definitely, when I drink, like I mentioned earlier, I like things like juice. I like Fanta and everything. But when I drink water, I think definitely I'm drinking more for my skin as well, just get my natural glow on. And the whole like frown lines, guys. So the joys of being, I don't know if other Ngule people experience this, but Nanles Pong, right? So every time, like I used to notice that every time I took pictures, I would always be like this because I'm trying to make my my hairline meet my eyebrows so that there's less space. I used to, but now it's one of those things that I'm like, okay, you know what, this is ridiculous. It's who I am, and I certainly accept it. And when I asked you, I was like, oh, do you feel under pressure? I certainly don't feel under pressure, and I think because of we, it's missed our generation. So it would have been interesting if you had said yes. I feel like it's missed our generation, and we are probably of the age where we're like, you know what, um, this is who I am, and I am proud and I'm confident of who I am, and you know I can bring myself to the whole table, and I appreciate more that I am more than my physical appearance, if that makes sense. You know, I'm more than my hair. I am the person within me is more than what you see from the outside. So I think it's like it's taken time to get there. And which is why I'm curious with you, how are these? I wish I could be here, like, you know, years down the line to see just the impact of this on kids like nowadays and the kids who are yet to be born as well.
Yeah. And so the thing is, like, yeah, like you're saying, I think it's kind of skipped us in a way,
Mm,
although maybe we've kind of been dealing with, I talked about like the colorism
mhm.
stuff. I also do think, Uguti, there is something about, I think at some point I would really like to, I'm not as researched or well researched on this, but there is something about Southern African beauty norms that is very unique to the rest of the continent. Because even if you look, right, Southern African women are known for what? Cutting their hair, even
Mm,
having like short hair, like low cuts. Um, and I think there's it, and if you compare, like maybe like with West Africans, maybe now it's a thing, but
mm,
maybe let me say Southern African women's relationship with hair. I feel
mhm.
like we were never um like what's the word? We our hair never controlled us. We controlled our hair. Like,
Mm,
and we never put a lot of premium in um you know following global standards, because
yeah.
I know what, like, if you meet South Africans, Zimbabweans, like I remember there was a time in the UK, Zimbabweans would have locks, women short hair. You would
Mm,
know what that is.
mm,
I think there's a joke on social media that every Zimbabwean, I want to say Southern Africa, because I think Zambia and South Africa is kind of the same. That everyone goes through that short hair phase.
mm, mm.
Whereas if you really look, like maybe like with Nigerians and stuff like that, it's not the same. And
Yeah.
I even want to say with like the bleaching stuff,
Mm,
yes, there's definitely colorism at home, but I
mm,
do think that the culture of like really bleaching was
mm.
isn't as prevalent, or wasn't as prevalent
One, yeah.
as it is, like maybe in West Africa, maybe to the most people doing pawns,
Mm, mm.
you know.
And
And
those skin lightening creams.
exactly. So I do think maybe there is a layer just about growing up, just maybe in that sort of
Mm.
world, in that environment.
So do you think it's like more an accepting environment?
I don't know if accepting is the right word.
Mm,
I think there's a level of liberalism, or there's a level of ownership that women had over how they presented themselves,
mm.
in a way that wasn't for the male gaze. Not predominantly, but I do think there is something about that.
Yeah, no, that's it's interesting because the more I think about it, certainly the way even for quote unquote professional look. Like I didn't know what professional hair was up until I left Zimbabwe, because growing up I would see like what my aunt, who was a professional woman, would go to work with. You know, she too went through the short hair phase. She still went to work. She would, when she had long hair, when she had relaxed hair, sometimes she would go with its, curled up, or sometimes if she hadn't had time, she would tie it up. So I think, yeah, it's interesting that, and maybe that was the time then, I certainly don't know what things are like now, what the space is like now, because like when you come here, there is definitely an element, and this is something we've talked about in our previous episodes again, about, what is quote unquote looking professional in the workplace, and even though there's a lot more acceptance of natural hair and things like that, you notice that you would definitely, there's ways in which you might feel like, oh, you know what, I am more presentable if my hair is straighter, or if my hair is tight, like even if it's afro hair, it's tied up into a quote unquote neat bun, because and I don't know if that's just me. I certainly, this is the way I've been rocking my hair, like all in short twists, because I have come to the stage where I'm like, I am more than my hair. I have confidence in who I am bringing to work. That has got nothing to do with the way I present myself. So it's I don't know. I guess it's interesting. It'll be interesting to hear from people as well. Like, what are your thoughts on the quote unquote beauty standards in the 20th century? Like, how have things changed for you wherever you are, whichever country you may be in? What is it like for you? Do you feel like pressured into looking a certain type of way? And speaking of pressured, like I feel more, I don't know if I would say pressured. I feel more health conscious, if that makes sense. And I think, that's the whole, you try and walk a bit more, you try and drink a bit more water. So I am more conscious as well about what I put inside my body, because I don't know, I know there's the element of looking young, but for me, it's also about, living and growing up, being older and being healthy. So I know, like we share details on our Apple Watch, so I always see you up and about walking, and it inspires me to take a leg up and go for a little walk around the block, so little things like that. It's just about how can I be a better version of myself in the future.
Definitely. I definitely agree with the whole health conscious thing. That's definitely something that I've been, although it's it's not yet showing, the evidence is not showing, but I'd like to think my heart is
absolutely
I'd like
absolutely.
to think my heart is showing. Yeah.
That's the most important thing. Saucy, our shared PT, was saying to me that he was like, oh, Nat is killing it out there on the
boxing.
The boxing. I was like, oh wow. If it wasn't for distance, I would be there too.
Yeah. No, doing boxing class. Okay, so okay, you said a few interesting things. What I did want to say was just going back to kind of like the BBLs and all that stuff, right? And I think the point that I was trying to say was, Uti, like back in the day, like the look was, Kate Moss, Naomi Campbell, Claudia. I'm forgetting the age of the supermodels.
Yeah. But those guys were very that they had very boyish shapes. They didn't have curves.
And then like J-Lo came about, right? And it was as if J-Lo has the biggest like booty like they've ever seen.
Beyonce came and said, hold my cup.
Exactly. And then Beyonce came, and then you kind of now had Kim K, with the because a lot of this BBL honestly is really coming from this Kim Kardashian look.
100%.
You know, there was a time on not even I think now it's better, but literally you'd go on Instagram and
Mm.
all the women would kind of be giving you, even black girls, right? They're giving you that two-tone weave, like that kind of like
Yeah.
brown two-tone middle parting,
Mm-hmm.
bodycon dress, uh Michael Kors bag. It was just
Mm-hmm.
like everyone looked the same. Like in every way. And the thing is, you know, with all these BBLs, Nanja, who's to say in 20 years what the in shape body will be, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so what happens when it changes? And then you've had BBL, and then also some of these works that people do, you have to keep topping up. So people save, yes, and then they go to Turkey, they go to all these places, but then what if it goes wrong? Because like literally, if it goes wrong and people die under the knife, right? Didn't Kanye West's mom allegedly? Yeah, she died during plastic surgery.
Really?
Yes. Yeah.
Jeez.
I
Ace.
I've heard of girls, because if they do anything wrong and it goes into your bloodstream, you can
Yeah.
get sepsis and everything.
Yeah. So like I wonder if this girl would be brave enough to come and talk about her experiences, because she I will ask her actually. She's very open though. So she's one who came out and told that's this is what I've had done. But she started off her cosmetic surgery journey. So a few years ago, so I've known her for a few years through work. A few years ago, she went and she had a gastric sleeve. So I met her after the gastric sleeve. And, again, it's one of those things, she or her parents had money, they paid for it, and off she went. And this is a girl, she's Ghanaian, a Ghanaian British, I would say. So off she went and she had it done. So I met her post gastric sleeve, and all she would talk about was, oh my goodness, I have put on weight, blah blah blah. I had a gastric sleeve, and she just wasn't happy. But to me, she looked fine. She looked like I was like, I can't even tell that you've had surgery, blah blah blah. Lo and behold, she goes quiet off for a few months, and she comes back and she's looking again completely different. I was like, what's happened? Um, and she's just like, yeah, no, I went to Turkey. She went all by herself to Turkey, had the surgery, came back, and she was like, it was the one of the worst experiences she's ever had. She was like, I was in so much pain, and they recover you in a hotel. So after you've had your surgery, I don't know how soon after post-op, but they take you into a hotel where they have converted it into this recovery unit, which again is not really safe. And there's a nurse who will go around each rooms just checking on patients. And then a few days after that, you are flown. So so she was like describing how she was coming back. She was in so much pain. Sit, you can't sit because you're sore. Going to the toilet is painful. Everything is just painful. But now she's just like, oh, she's I don't think she's at a point where I could say she's happy, because she's again considering going to have more surgery. And she, if I'm honest again, so she will come out and say to me, she's like, oh, you girls from Southern Africa, you have a nice shape. I was like, but you had surgery for the shape. Like, where does it stop? Where do you draw the line and be like, okay, you know what, this is enough? And this is what worries me, that it just seems to be an ongoing thing. And if it's happening to her, how many more people is it happening to who've had this surgery to attain this perfect body, and then it's still not enough? And you're right, people do develop crazy infections and and die, or something happens under the knife, if you've got an underlying condition that you probably didn't even know about, and then you go on and you have this. I feel it's a scary prospect to think that even somebody I know would go and have that alone in a foreign country where they don't even speak the language that you speak, where they don't understand um, what your symptoms may be. I find that quite scary.
Mm. But you know what? Talking about this, I don't know if you saw the something on social media months ago, which was people coming from, I don't know, Puerto Rico or somewhere, right? Flying to Atlanta, and they were saying the number of wheelchair users, and most of them, like they were saying, like 90% of them were BBL, like operations, because like you say that afterwards you have to go to recovery, whatever. But some people, I guess, because the recovery stay, whatever, it's extra money, so some people opt to fly back home, still all, you know, bandaged up, and they were saying like there's so much of that. But what I wanted to say also with the um what did I want to say, oh, when you're talking about the gastric sleeve,
Mm.
like for me it's something that, because obviously I've been trying to lose weight, like unfortunately it is, it's not something I would do, right? Because I'm so scared, because I actually want to, like, get to a point where I'm like, oh, I did it on my own, like, and I didn't have so I'll say it's not something I've considered, right? Because I don't really want anything invasive. But you kind of see, like, because I follow a lot of, like, people like losing weight and all that stuff, and then there's always a bit of me that gets a bit disappointed when, like, you see, like, the person you've been following who's been working out, then they're like, oh, I've had my gastric sleeve, and it was like, oh, okay. But I can't fault them because, okay, you know, like,
Yeah, and there's also been like I recall like a little while ago on social media, the whole people saying that people are lying to people, like especially along the fitness um social media crew, where people are like, oh, these are the workouts I've done, this is what I eat, and this is how I maintain my body. I want to, when people are actually going and having surgery, you know and yet, so you are there putting yourself through all these excruciating workouts, not losing, eating what they're eating, and you're not losing weight, and yet they're not being honest and truthful to say that this is how I've done it, this is how I've lost the weight, or how I've kept the weight off. So there is that side of things as well, is that people will prey onto the weaker side of people, because everyone wants to look good to a certain extent. Everyone wants to work out and feel good, and if you can see someone who looks like you, someone who you know accepts Uti, I've had a bad day today and I had some chips, so someone who is relatable, and then you just find out that in all this time, you've maybe even sent, they're like, oh, if you want an exclusive workout program, send money to my PayPal, I'll send you, do you know? And people are just out there just doing surgery.
I know
Sad.
it's just like, oh my god. But then I know we do need to wrap up, but I think it would be remiss of us to not talk about why people, do you know there is such, to not talk about why people do this. There is, unfortunately, and I don't think it's going to end anytime soon, there is just such a premium in being good looking, in being pretty, in having a, desirable body, all the desirable politics. Like,
Mm.
yes, you can try and talk about brains, whatever. Unfortunately, in this world that we live in, there is no premium greater than being beautiful.
But I feel like it's more so now. Like, honestly, I am so glad I am 35 in 2021 because, wow, if I was younger and if I was younger and growing up in this, then I would feel like, oh my God, I need to be like this. But now I'm like, okay, I am like this, and it is what it is.
Mm.
You are right. I think there's definitely something along the lines of looking a certain way that will help you go ahead, in terms of maybe your career, in terms of getting a man, because men, of course, are out there putting in their try when when you go for, when you look at a CV, not a CV, sorry,
Preference.
job description. There's two columns, desirable and essential.
Yeah.
So men are busy out there saying, "Oh, it's on the essential column. I want somebody who's slim fit. I want someone who is slender. I want someone who is it's just mad,
Yeah.
mad, 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 mad."
And it's real. Like, I'll give you an example. I'm a big fan of Jasmine Sullivan, right?
Mm. Mm.
Like, from Bust Your Windows,
Wow.
like,
Mm.
love her. Jasmine Sullivan has a new project that is out, came out this year.
Amazing projects, yeah.
Hotels. But it's the first time I have felt, and I think there was an interview she did at some point where she said, like, it just feels the love is different, right? Granted, the project is great, like the hotels is great, but Jasmine Sullivan lost a bunch of weight. She
Mm.
looks different, right?
Mm.
And I remember even she was talking about it that, her mom was battling cancer, and
Mm.
just as a family they just did a whole nutrition change to sort of
Mm.
support her mom. But you look at, and as a fan of Jasmine, who has followed her, I can feel it, that is
Mm.
different. It's not her, it's and it's the whole, like, that woman can sing. Like, there's
Mm.
no reason that woman shouldn't be up there with the Beyonces. Like, she's one of the greatest vocalists of, like, our generation, like, after Brandy and them. But it's the, I don't know if you even saw the BT performance that she did with Ari Lennox.
Mm.
Both of them looked good. And
Mm.
even Ari Lennox has, like, been working out. But then, you know, you can't fault, but I do think that a reason why Jasmine Sullivan's project is being received better is just because, to the world, she is she's probably expanded the people whose beauty standards she meets,
Mm.
you know. So and there's so many other examples where,
Mm.
like, and then all of a sudden people are like, oh wow. But again, I don't think we can run away from it, huh?
No, no, I think you're right. You see, people look at you differently if you're looking at a certain part of a certain type of way.
Mm,
Oh well, it's
yeah.
something that I suppose we'll forever talk about in different, like different angles of it. Like I remember when we first spoke about, I think it was bringing your whole self to the table, where we touched on hair, and then we spoke about colorism, and now we're here talking about BBL. So I wonder what the next angle is going to be. Society is forever changing.
It's forever changing, but it's cosmetic. Like,
Mm.
the cosmetic stuff is really, like, that's not going to change anytime soon. I think it's about the I think it's just about mental resilience, right?
Mm.
And there's, listen, that's what I'm saying, it's not all bad wanting to get stuff done,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's about your mental resilience, like, how
Yes.
strong are you, because what happens in 10 years,
When
BBLs are no longer the thing.
and when do you stop? I think you're absolutely right. Like, um, for some people, they would be like, oh, I need to change this. cosmetically, blah blah blah, and fine. It's when do you stop? I think there's something like, like a bit of the psychology of cosmetic surgery is also um, knowing when to stop, because there'll always be something else to fix. There's always going to be something else to do, I mean, I'm not going to lie. I've been like, oh, I also want to lose a bit of weight, and I'll be like, not a bit. I'm also like, oh, um, I wouldn't mind being a little bit fitting in my clothes, making my clothes feel fit better, because that I feel is the nice thing. When you feel good in your jeans, right? When you feel good in that top, that's I think is what more I aspire to. But have I ever considered going under the knife to achieve that? The answer is maybe I'll say it, but I 100% would never do it. I would never put myself under the knife for it. And maybe is it because it's something that doesn't, I don't know, maybe something that I don't really consider as a priority, and that is probably my mindset. Maybe it's my mental resilience, like, no, you don't need to do that. But for some people it's like, this is important for me. This is important. The way I present myself is important. If I change this, then it would make me feel better. Fine. But having the mental resilience to say, okay, you know what, that's enough.
Mm. Absolutely, having the mental resilience, I think, is the important thing,
Yeah.
because standards will change and everything, but
That's what you should name the pod. BBLs and mental resilience, or something along those lines.
I think BBLs and something sexy, maybe BBLs
Mental
and
resilience is
fillers.
sexy.
BBLs and fillers
And mental
and
resilience.
botox.
We'll see.
But yeah, no, it's an interesting topic. Hopefully we'll talk about it. Oh yeah, because I was gonna say one thing I have been insecure about is my nose. I never used to care until I remember one guy was like, "Oh my god, you've got a wide nose." I was like, "What?"
Jeez.
Like
I don't
I
think you got a
always, huh?
I don't think you got a wide nose.
I mean, it's fine.
There's people with noses out there.
I did go through a phase where I used to filter my nose.
Really?
Yeah, a few years ago. Like like the apps where you like uh
Make your nose look thinner.
yeah, I will confess.
Okay. I
But
don't know.
but now I'm just like, listen, get, I'm getting all this oxygen up in here.
Getting all the extra oxygen. I think for me it's my teeth, like not the whitening, but when I was younger, I'm tired, like I've got a scar here. So I
Right,
think it moved my jaw. So I have a bit of an overbite. So
right.
my dentist has always said to me that I should get like Hama braces. I'm like, nah. He says you'd have a perfect smile. I'm like, nah, my smile is perfect already, please. I
Yeah,
won't bother with that.
yeah. No, no, no. Yeah, no, that's good. When I have money, I'm definitely doing my teeth.
Okay.
Definitely,
Keep
definitely.
an eye out for it so we
What
can
does
comment.
Cardi B say? Got a bag and fix my teeth. Yeah,
Get
that
back.
that's just gonna be me. But anyway, no, quite interesting, guys. Let us know what you guys think. Have you had work done? Would you have work done? Um, if so, what, and all that stuff.
I just realized I also know someone from work who's had her boobs done.
Oh, really?
She had no boobs to having a C cup.
I
And that was
may,
something that affected.
I may do a breast reduction, but I love my breasts. Like
I'm
I
sure
don't
others.
feel like, huh?
Yeah, I'm sure others do too.
No, I mean no. the, I'm the only, no.
And rest in place.
No, no. I mean, listen, these flesh things are not for me. My body is a vessel for Christ. So, but I always see people say, oh, I want to do like, oh, my breasts, like, because I've got big breasts, but people complain that it hurts there. But I always feel like I'm fine. Like, I love
It
my.
doesn't hurt your back.
Maybe it does, and I just don't know. But I don't feel like my boobs are like I love me and my boobs been through a lot. I love them.
I'm sure. Discussion for another day. That one.
No, no, no.
Separate podcast.
Patreon.
Indeed.
But guys, thank you so much. Let us know what you think. We hashtag Gellens guys on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Just let us know what you guys think about this.
Yeah. Laters, people.
Laters. Bye.
Hey, thank you so much for checking out this episode of Gellen's Guides podcast. Siyabonga. If you've enjoyed this episode, you may enjoy our Patreon episodes as well. So we have content for Patreon members, which includes a monthly Patreon-only episode, early access to some of our episodes, and much, much more. So if you enjoy our content, why not check out our Patreon, which is on patreon.com/GellensGuys. That's patreon.com/GellensGuys. Thank you so much.